In 2015, something quietly shifted in the heart of the Vatican. Something ancient, something sacred, something most people didn't even notice at first, but something deeply important. Pope Francis, a pope loved by many for his humble approach and his calls for change, decided to quietly alter one of Catholicism's oldest traditions, the sacred imposition of palliums. You might be wondering, what's the big deal? After all, traditions change all the time, don't they? But imagine this. For centuries, these palliums, beautiful white woolen stoles woven with deep spiritual meaning, symbolized something powerful. They spoke about unity, authority, and a direct connection to the Apostle Peter himself. Year after year, pope after pope placed these symbols personally around the necks of new archbishops, confirming their bond, their loyalty, and their connection directly to Rome. But Pope Francis decided it was time to break from that tradition. Instead of personally placing these symbols upon new archbishops at St. Peter's Basilica, he chose instead to have them delivered quietly, locally, in dioceses far away from Rome. It was subtle, quiet, almost hidden in plain sight. Now here's the real question, one that keeps me awake at night, and might just haunt you too. Could it be that some traditions hold deeper secrets than we realize? Could it be that behind these rituals, behind these ancient ceremonies, lies a truth, a powerful, perhaps uncomfortable truth, that some leaders prefer hidden? Think about it. Traditions aren't just rituals. They're whispers from the past, echoes of truths that someone once wanted remembered. So when you change a tradition, you don't just erase a practice. You silence those whispers. You quiet those echoes. What truths, then, might Pope Francis have been trying to keep quiet by altering this ancient ceremony? Today, Pope Leo XIV has boldly stepped forward to restore this sacred tradition, reigniting those ancient whispers, reclaiming the truth hidden within. But what exactly is that truth? And why does it matter so much today? My friends, if you hunger for truth, if you're ready to look beyond what's comfortable, beyond what you're told, then journey with me today. Hit that like button right now, subscribe to the channel, and tell us where you're watching from in the comments. Because the truth is powerful. It can change your life. And today, you might just uncover a truth some hoped you'd never find. Now, let's slow down for a moment and clearly understand what exactly this pallium is. You've probably seen it countless times without fully grasping its profound significance. The pallium is more than just a simple garment. Far more. Imagine a carefully woven stole made from pure white wool. Wool gathered from lambs specially blessed, symbolizing purity, innocence, and sacrifice. It's draped reverently around the shoulders of newly appointed archbishops, signifying their unity with Rome, their authority from God, and their fidelity to Christ and His Church. Think of it this way. When a pope places the pallium personally around an archbishop's shoulders, it isn't merely ceremonial. It's an intimate, sacred act of trust, a direct connection established between the archbishop, the pope, and centuries of tradition tracing all the way back to St. Peter himself. Through this seemingly simple action, the Church reinforces a bond, a promise of unity, accountability, and spiritual solidarity. Historically, this wasn't just done casually or privately. No, every year on June 29th, during the feast of Saints Peter and Paul, new archbishops traveled from all corners of the earth to Rome. There, in the hallowed halls of St. Peter's Basilica, the Pope himself placed the pallium directly upon them. In this sacred moment, the Pope didn't just honor tradition, he embodied it, visibly connecting each archbishop with the apostolic roots of the Church. But here's where things get interesting, perhaps even troubling. In 2015, Pope Francis quietly altered this powerful ritual. Instead of personally placing the palliums upon new archbishops, he chose instead to have them delivered to their own dioceses. No grand ceremony in Rome, no symbolic embrace before the eyes of the faithful. Just a simple, quiet handing over, done privately, locally, almost invisibly. And this raises a powerful question. one that's been echoing quietly in Vatican corridors ever since. Was this change purely practical, a mere convenience in a busy modern world? Or was it symbolic of something far deeper, something intentionally hidden? Could Pope Francis, beloved by millions for his simplicity and openness, have had deeper, perhaps more troubling motivations for distancing Rome from its shepherds? Think carefully about this, because symbolism in the Church is never accidental. It always holds deeper meanings, hidden truths that quietly guide the hearts and minds of the faithful. Perhaps Pope Francis sought decentralization, a less Roman-centric church, more local, less unified in traditional ways. Or was it, as some suggest, an attempt to quietly dismantle traditional authority structures within the Church, signaling a profound theological shift away from the centrality of Rome, away from unity under Peter? But now, Pope Leo XIV has restored this ancient tradition, courageously reclaiming the power and meaning of placing the pallium personally upon each archbishop once again. By doing this, he's boldly reaffirmed the Church's deep-rooted connection to tradition, unity, and historical truth. So I must ask you again, directly, honestly, when Pope Francis changed the ritual, was it just convenience? Or was it the deliberate quieting of an ancient truth, a truth that Pope Leo XIV is now boldly resurrecting? Stay with me, friends, because this isn't just a discussion about ceremony. This is about truth itself, about hidden meanings, subtle shifts, and spiritual revelations that affect each and every one of us. As you listen today, ask yourself, why would someone want this tradition hidden? And why does Pope Leo XIV insist, now more urgently than ever, that it must be revealed again? The answers just might change everything you believe about the Church and even about yourself. Think for a moment about what tradition truly means to you. It's not just old ways, old practices handed down without thought. Tradition, at its core, is memory, living memory. It's the heartbeat of the Church, carrying the wisdom of ages from one generation to another. When a pope, entrusted as the guardian of these sacred memories, quietly steps away from a practice that has held such profound meaning for centuries, it should make you pause, perhaps even make your heart ache. Because rituals like the pallium ceremony aren't simply pageantry, they're spiritual anchors, tethering the Church firmly to its roots in Christ and his apostles. By directly imposing palliums, each pope declares publicly, clearly, and unambiguously, "We stand together, united, one Church, one shepherd." But consider this: when the Pope stops personally placing the pallium on each archbishop, sending it instead quietly to their home dioceses, what message does it send to the faithful watching carefully from the pews, from cities and villages around the globe? Does it subtly weaken the visible connection between the Pope and his bishops? Does it quietly signal a drift away from unity, a shift toward individualism, toward separation, even isolation? Maybe you're thinking, why worry about something so subtle? Why not just trust that everything is fine? Well, my friends, remember this: subtle changes have the power to move mountains, alter beliefs, and reshape souls. Subtlety can be a tool, sometimes gentle, sometimes dangerous, carefully chosen to reshape minds without causing alarm. Subtlety allows changes to slip through unnoticed, quietly reshaping entire traditions until one day, the Church you see is no longer the Church you knew. But Pope Leo XIV saw this, and he knew something had to be done. Not for vanity, not just to maintain customs blindly, but because he felt deeply in his heart that traditions, true traditions rooted in faith and divine truth, must be safeguarded, defended, and boldly reaffirmed. So he took action, stepping courageously into the spotlight, resuming the direct imposition of palliums, and reclaiming this powerful symbolic bond between the Pope, the bishops, and you, the faithful. Imagine yourself now, watching as Pope Leo XIV places the pallium personally upon a new archbishop's shoulders. You witness history, yes, but you also witness truth. In that single sacred moment, you recognize that unity still matters, that spiritual solidarity isn't just an ideal, It's real, visible, tangible, and deep down, you sense something else. That traditions matter, because within them lies hidden a deeper truth about who we are, where we've come from, and ultimately, where we are headed. So ask yourself now, honestly, openly, courageously, was Pope Francis's subtle shift away from this tradition truly innocent? Or was it quietly intentional? Could it be that some in leadership have sought to weaken the bonds of unity, perhaps to quietly redefine the Church? Could it be that Pope Leo XIV has not merely restored a ceremony, but reclaimed a profound spiritual truth? Friend, these aren't questions I can answer for you. These are questions you must ask yourself, because faith, truth, and tradition aren't passive. They require you to pay attention, to question, to seek. And I'm here today, right now, inviting you to do exactly that. Seek the truth. Challenge yourself. Ask questions. Because your faith deserves it. Your soul deserves it. And if you're feeling a tug on your heart right now, a sense that something important, something eternal, is at stake, then follow that feeling. Join us in this journey. Because the truth is not a quiet whisper, it's a powerful, undeniable call that echoes through history. And right now, it's calling you. So tell me, brother. Tell me, sister. What do you truly believe lies behind Pope Francis's subtle shift away from this ancient ritual? Is Pope Leo XIV right in restoring it? Is there a hidden truth that must now come back to light? The answers matter, not just for the Church, but for you, and they're waiting just ahead. Keep listening closely because we're about to uncover truths some hoped you'd never see. Consider for a moment the times we're living in. The world feels increasingly uncertain. Everywhere you turn, traditions are being questioned, discarded, and replaced. Everything you once trusted seems to be shifting beneath your feet. And now, even within the Church, the place meant to offer stability and truth, subtle changes appear, quietly reshaping the foundations of faith. But ask yourself honestly, what happens when traditions become negotiable? When symbols lose their meaning, or worse, when their meanings become intentionally obscured? It's like removing the pillars from beneath a great building. At first you may not notice, but slowly, steadily, everything begins to collapse. This is precisely why Pope Leo XIV's courageous decision to restore the personal imposition of palliums is not merely symbolic, it's revolutionary. He has drawn a spiritual line in the sand, reaffirming visibly and powerfully that certain truths must never be compromised. He's reminding us all, right here, right now, that unity matters, tradition matters, truth matters. He's calling us back home, reconnecting us to those essential truths that made us who we are as believers. And yet, as you listen to me now, perhaps there's still a quiet doubt, a whisper of skepticism in your mind. Maybe you're thinking, it's just a garment, just a ritual. But let me gently remind you, there was a time when bread was just bread, when wine was just wine. But in the hands of Christ, these ordinary things became extraordinary. They became eternal symbols of unity and truth. Likewise, the pallium is not just fabric. It represents something deeper, something eternal. So let me ask you again, with love, with sincerity, why would anyone want to separate Rome from her bishops, even symbolically? Why would Pope Francis choose to quietly send palliums far from Rome's embrace? Was this simply a practical shift? Or was it perhaps meant to quietly shape a new vision of the Church, one less connected to tradition, less anchored to historical unity? Can you feel how much is at stake here? This isn't merely church politics. This touches your heart, your spirit, your soul. You, dear friend, are part of this story. Your faith depends on the clarity, the authenticity, and the unity expressed in these sacred rituals. Because if you allow tradition to become optional, truth itself soon becomes negotiable. Pope Leo XIV sees this clearly, and with courage, he stepped forward to restore what had quietly slipped away. When he once again places the pallium personally upon an archbishop's shoulders, he proclaims boldly to the world, "We still believe in unity. We still cherish tradition. we still stand together, bound by eternal truth. Now, as you consider this profound action, this courageous restoration, I invite you to examine your own heart. Ask yourself honestly, have I overlooked subtle changes around me? Have I accepted convenient explanations while deeper truths were quietly pushed aside? Your faith, your trust, and your connection to centuries of believers before you, they're calling out, urgently asking you not to let go, not to forget, and not to remain passive. They're urging you to rediscover the power hidden within these sacred traditions. My dear friends, traditions are the heartbeat of the Church. They connect you directly to the apostles, to Christ himself. To lose them, or even to diminish them quietly, would leave us spiritually impoverished, disconnected, drifting without an anchor. Pope Leo XIV has bravely reminded us of this, stepping forward to restore the sacred imposition of palliums, calling us back to unity, fidelity, and truth. Listen closely now. Can you hear that quiet voice inside you, recognizing that something sacred is being reclaimed, something eternal restored? That voice is calling you deeper, inviting you into truth, inviting you into faith once again. And that is exactly why I speak to you today. Not to alarm, but to awaken. Not to divide, but to unite. Because faith is precious, truth is sacred, and tradition is a living memory, one we must carefully guard for future generations. So stay with me, dear friend. Keep listening, keep questioning, keep seeking. The truth is waiting, and once found, it will never let you go. You see, my dear friends, the decision Pope Leo XIV made isn't just a nostalgic longing for the past. No, it's a call to awaken something deeper within you, something you might have forgotten amidst the noise of modern life. This decision to restore the pallium ceremony is a powerful reminder that the foundations of your faith, the sacred truths handed down through generations, deserve protecting. Pause here and think deeply. Every single ritual the Church has cherished for centuries tells a story. Every symbol whispers a message. When we quietly let those messages fade, we're not just losing traditions, we're losing parts of our spiritual identity, the very fabric of who we are as believers. But today, Pope Leo XIV has said clearly, no more. No more subtle erosion. No more quiet slipping away. He is gently, yet boldly, calling us back to unity, to truth, to connection. He's inviting you, personally, to rediscover what it truly means to belong to something greater, something eternal. Now, perhaps you've never thought about it before today. Perhaps you've simply trusted that the church leaders always know best. And maybe that's understandable. But let me ask you, what if the greatest danger is not loud scandal or visible controversy, but quiet, unnoticed changes happening right before your eyes? What if the greatest threats to your faith aren't obvious, but subtle shifts slowly pulling you away from deeper truths? Think carefully about this. The pallium ceremony directly connects every archbishop to the Pope, and thus connects every believer directly back to Rome, to the very heart of the Church. When Pope Francis quietly changed this tradition, was it merely about convenience? Or was it a subtle message that perhaps this unity isn't as important as it once was? That perhaps, slowly, quietly, Rome's spiritual influence should diminish? And more importantly, if this subtle drift were allowed to continue unchecked, where might it lead us? What might the Church look like in 20, 50, or 100 years? What traditions would remain? What truths would be preserved? What connection to our roots would we still have? Let that thought settle deeply into your heart right now. This is not simply a ceremony. It's not just tradition for tradition's sake. It's a sacred reminder of unity, continuity, and spiritual strength. It's Pope Leo XIV telling you clearly, we must not forget who we are. We must remain connected to our spiritual heritage, our apostolic roots, our divine truth. My friends, you are part of this moment in history. You're not simply a spectator. You're a guardian of this truth. Your awareness, your willingness to seek deeper meaning, your courage to question subtle changes, these matter profoundly. As you listen, as you reflect, Remember this clearly. Pope Leo XIV didn't just reclaim a ceremony. He reclaimed a spiritual inheritance that belongs to you. He reclaimed a truth that some hoped would quietly disappear. And now, as we approach the heart of this discussion, I'm asking you directly, brother to brother, sister to sister, to open your eyes and see clearly what is happening around you. I'm asking you not merely to accept changes quietly, but to question, to seek clarity, to stand for unity. The restoration of the pallium ceremony is a call to spiritual courage, a call for each of us to embrace our role as protectors of faith and truth. Pope Leo XIV's message is clear. Traditions carry hidden wisdom, wisdom essential for the survival of your faith. Today, you have a choice. You can quietly accept subtle changes, or you can courageously defend eternal truths. You can drift along passively, or you can actively safeguard the spiritual legacy handed down through centuries. Listen carefully, friends. Your faith, your spirit, your eternal connection to the Church, they depend on your choice. Pope Leo XIV has bravely shown the way, reclaiming a precious truth once hidden. And now, my dear brother, my dear sister, the question rests gently, powerfully with you. Will you embrace this truth? Will you defend the sacred bonds of unity and tradition that define who we are? Or will you quietly let these truths slip away again, lost in the currents of subtle change? Only you can answer. Only you can choose. Stay close, stay vigilant, and together, let us ensure these truths remain, not just today, but forever. As we bring this journey together to a close, remember clearly, this isn't simply about rituals, ceremonies, or subtle Vatican politics. It's about something far deeper. It's about preserving a living, breathing truth, passed down by those who came before us. It's about ensuring that the spiritual heritage we cherish today remains intact for those who follow tomorrow. Pope Leo XIV's restoration of the ancient pallium ceremony isn't just reclaiming tradition. He's reclaiming your connection to the very heart of our faith. He's sending a powerful message directly to you, that unity matters, that our roots matter, that truth, real, timeless truth, must never be compromised, hidden, or quietly set aside. Today, you stand at the crossroads of history. You hold in your hands the precious opportunity to awaken, to see clearly, and to safeguard the spiritual truths that countless believers before you preserved at great cost. They faced trials, they weathered storms, they held fast to these truths because they believed deeply that you, yes you, would one day inherit them. And now, dear friend, that inheritance rests with you. Pope Leo XIV calls you gently yet urgently to guard these sacred traditions, to hold fast to the truths they contain and to pass them forward intact, whole and undiminished. I urge you as a fellow seeker to stay vigilant, remain curious, and never let subtle changes quietly erode the foundations of your faith. Speak up, ask questions, cherish tradition, and protect the truth with courage, clarity, and love. And if this message resonates deep within you, if you feel called today to stand with Pope Leo XIV, then let your voice be heard. Comment below, share your thoughts, your questions, your heart. Tell us where you're watching from. Hit like and subscribe, because your voice matters here. Your presence strengthens our community of truth seekers. Remember always, truth may not be popular, but it is eternal. And right now, together, we have the sacred privilege of defending it. Thank you for journeying with me today. Stay blessed, stay strong, and above all, stay awake to the truth.